welcome to another awesome episode of Nerd Central. I am your host, Krista Ott, and with me today, filling in for Channing, I have our producer, Andy Johnson.
We have our next installments of Dragon Corner, Heart of the Cards, Look Back, and Dead on Arrival. Plus, we conjure up a showdown to see who is the best Harry Potter character.
But before all of that, let's talk about the news of the week. Netflix was very busy last week announcing renewals, first looks, and premiere dates. Let's start with the premiere date. Fuller House will premiere its 4th season on December 14th exclusively on the service. Season 4 picks up with Danny, Joey, Jesse, and Rebecca all moving back to San Francisco with Kimmy carrying Stephanie's baby. Steve Baldowski and Brian Behar come in as the new showrunner after allegations against Jeff Franklin surfaced of him verbally abusing his writer's room. The Tanners will be back in our lives just in time for Christmas.
Speaking of shows being back, Fox has announced more of its mid-season show premiere dates. The big names in that announcement are the 2nd season of Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek-inspired show, The Orville, and the final season of the Batman prequel, Gotham. The Orville will have a special premiere on Sunday, December 30th, after a full day of football. It will then return to its normal day on Thursday, January 3rd, where it will be paired with Gotham, with its premiere being that night. Some of the other notable shows starting this January are Proven Innocent, a show about a legal team who takes on cases for people who are wrongly convicted. And The Passage, a show about a group of death row inmates who become vampires, and the only person who can stop them is an orphan girl. Hey, Cody, I think I found another show for Dead on Arrival.
In movie news, there is going to be another Attack on Titan movie. Warner Brothers to adapt the Kodansha's manga series. Andy Muschietti, director of 2017's It, has been brought on to direct. This is the first time Hollywood has adapted the series to the big screen, but not the first time someone has tried making Attack on Titan in live action. Toho Company made a 2-part film series in 2015 to mixed reviews. No news on casting, but when we find out, we will be sure to let you all know.
Now let's take it to our anime segments, Dragon Corner and Heart of the Cards. Take it away, guys.
Hello and welcome back to Dragon Corner. This week we'll be discussing Dragon Ball's most beloved villain, Frieza. We've talked about Frieza before, so by now you should know that he is the self-proclaimed Emperor of Universe 7, a vicious tyrant that conquers and sells planets with little regard for the life inhabiting them. In fact, the Saiyans offended him so much that he destroyed their planet, although this was not entirely his idea. But where does Frieza come from, and what is he? Well, Frieza comes from his father, King Cold. From a broader perspective, we don't really know. Members of Frieza's specific alien race are simply known as Frieza race, although in some unofficial material they are referred to as Frost Demons. And we don't know much about them because Frieza and his father are mutants, so we can't extrapolate from their example. Although the other members of Frieza race are strong in their own right, King Cold and Frieza stand alone as the most powerful beings of their species. In fact, Frieza is so powerful that he often hides his true abilities through transformations. Unlike characters like Goku, who find incredible strength by breaking through their limits and achieving new heights, when Frieza transforms, he's actually shedding layers of limitations he's placed on his body. In his first form, Frieza's power level sits at less than 0.5% of his full potential, while his second form is still just shy of 1%. No concrete numbers are available for the third or Assault form, which resembles a xenomorph from the Alien films, but we do know that shedding the disguises and revealing his true, base, or simply fourth form sexagentuples his power, jumping to around 50% of the user's total power. It's adjustable up to 85% or so, where he bulks up considerably. Frieza and his Universe 6 counterpart Frost are capable of using 100% of their power, although this form is difficult to master and drains ki and stamina quickly. Frieza's first major role in Dragon Ball was revealed on planet Namek. Following a Pyrrhic victory on Earth during which the Dragon Balls were rendered inert, the surviving members of the cast head to Namek to use their Dragon Balls. Unfortunately, Frieza has set his sights on them as well, hoping to gain immortality. Rendering Namek's people all but extinct in his search, Frieza finally faces off with Goku, resulting in a fairly one-sided battle. After triggering Goku's first Super Saiyan transformation by murdering his best friend Krillin, Frieza decides to take his literal death ball and go home, setting in motion the destruction of Namek. Goku allows Frieza to power up to 100% in an effort to impart some humility, which results in a rage-addled Frieza being hoisted by his own petard. Goku delivers the ultimate slap in the face by offering Frieza mercy before leaving the planet to explode. Some members of the Frieza race, however, have the ability to withstand tremendous injuries and/or survive in space. Frieza drifted until he was found and reconstructed as a cyborg by his father and returned to Earth, where Vegeta's son from an alternate timeline, Future Trunks, put an end to their joint reign of terror. Frieza would spend the next 17 years in Earth's hell, tortured by the Angels of Hell until his resurrection in Dragon Ball Super. Realizing that depending on his natural-born talent would not be enough for his revenge, Frieza spends 4 months intensively training and masters his true power, even gaining a new evolution known as Golden Frieza. Unfortunately, his haste to kill Goku results in an unpolished version of the form, which burns through stamina quickly. One small Earth-exploding mishap and a time rewind from weeks later, Goku is able to successfully send Frieza back where he belongs. When Grand Zeno announces the Tournament of Power, an 80-man free-for-all where only the last universe standing lives, Goku seeks Frieza as his 10th team member. By this point, Frieza has mastered his control of the Golden Form and participates in exchange for yet another new life. While it's fairly obvious that Frieza will play an important role in the flashback sections of the upcoming movie, it's unclear what his present-day significance will be. All we know is that he will return as a villain as lovably hateable as ever. We'll catch you next time on Dragon Corner.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Central's Heart of the Cards with your host Bradley Justice. I will be taking a deep dive into the anime juggernaut that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Or what I like to call the Friendship Show.
He and I have a score to settle.
We do. This is my tournament. I call the shots.
Not this time. I have a friend who's in trouble, and beating Diva may be the only way of helping him. You know me, Kaiba. You know I'll do anything for a friend. So back off, or we're gonna have a problem.
A threat?
Sure, why not? Now what's it gonna be, Kaiba?
This week I'll be talking about the second Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. This series takes place several years after the events of the original. It follows the main protagonist Jaden Yuki, or Judai in the subbed version. I love Jaden as a character. He has one of the best character developments in all of anime. In Season 1, he is just an average kid trying to be the best at dueling. He's confident, funny, clumsy, and most important, like all Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists, caring towards his friends. This season starts when Jaden, running late to his entry exam at Duel Academy, runs into Yugi. Yugi gives Jaden a card and says, "Something tells me this belongs to you," and it would become the fan favorite Winged Karibo, a spirit that Jaden can communicate with. This is a significant part in the whole series. It shows early on that Jaden can communicate with duel spirits and is always willing to change his attitude and adapt towards other duelists and friendly faces. After acing his exam against Crowler's real deck and not the dubbed down exam decks, he is told he would be placed in the lowest dorm, Slifer Red, with the highest being Obelisk Blue and the intermediate being Raw Yellow. This season is about stopping the Sacred Beasts from being brought back and used for evil. The Sacred Beasts are considered to be the evil counterparts of the Egyptian god cards, which each having a similar design, but the Sacred Beasts have the power to take the energy from the dual monster spirits and make the card holder more powerful. I thought this season was a great season to start with. It showed Jaden losing twice in this season, one to Zane, the best duelist in the school, in the beginning, and one to a random one-episode character in Kaiba Man. The season was also very dark for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. It had mind control, betrayal, spirits dying, the loser being put into a doll, and even at one point choosing the fate of the world or watching your brother die when Zane had to face Camula in a shadow duel. I thought it showed a deeper and darker connection than the previous series, and the fact that the season was the first one of the new series. This got me pumped for the remaining seasons. This has been Heart of the Cards with Bradley Justice. Stay tuned for more Nerd Central.
Thanks, guys.
We are going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will have our next installments of Look Back and Dead on Arrival. Plus, we will talk about all the other news Netflix dropped last week. You're watching Nerd Central on KNWT Channel 8. We will be right back.
Welcome back to Nerd Central. Let's talk about the rest of what Netflix dropped on us last week. Let's start in the animated realm. Disenchantment has been renewed for 2 more seasons. The show is from the mind of Matt Groening, the man behind Simpsons and Futurama, will now run through at least 2021. The series debuted earlier this year to a lukewarm reception. Each season will consist of 10 episodes, with Season 2 debuting sometime in 2019, with Seasons 3 and 4 following in each year after.
A second animated show has been renewed on Netflix. BoJack Horseman will be coming back for a 6th season. The show follows BoJack, a failed 90s sitcom star of the show Horsin' Around. Oh yeah, and he's a horse. Almost forgot about that. The announcement came from the official Twitter account of the show. Series stars Will Arnett and Aaron Paul will reprise their roles as BoJack and Taj Chavez, respectively. No premiere date has been announced as the 5th season dropped back in September. Expect the 6th season to drop sometime in 2019.
Netflix did not stop there. As we reported in September, Henry Cavill has been cast to play Geralt of Rivia in a Netflix adaptation of The Witcher. Well, Netflix showed off our first look at Cavill as the character. The footage was posted on Netflix's Twitter. It is only a test footage, but Cavill really does embody Geralt. This announcement comes as they start shooting in Hungary. The series is scheduled to drop sometime next year.
Now, let's take it to our next installments of Look Back and Dead on Arrival. What do you have for us this week, Mikey and Cody?
Hello, and welcome to Look Back, a retrospective on shows that I used to love to shows that I love in the present day. I'm Mikey, and I never went to a real summer camp as a kid, but I did watch the absurd occurrences on this week's show, Total Drama Island. Camp Wawanakwa, full of wild animals, cameras galore, and a group of teenagers competing for $100,000. Following the traditional game show fashion of voting off a person each day, 22 campers start their journey going through difficult challenges, eating disgusting food made by the camp's premier chef, and overall, just not having a very nice time. This show screams an attempt for a more teenager market. And in some ways it hits, and in some ways, well, let's just say this show focuses on one thing and one thing only: stereotypes. From the host, Chris McLean, who is basically a rip on every game show host that has ever existed, to the bullies, the nerds, the gentle giants, the dumb, the crazy, and all kinds of other general stereotypes. And when it comes to the challenges, if this is real life, there would be nobody surviving. From jumping into shark-infested waters with little protection, jumping out of airplanes with no teachings, trying to track down and capture a bear, and all kinds of other challenges, this show brings what the real game shows can never bring: no real injuries with deadly challenges. The show has no official toys, and there were also no video games. There are many more seasons of the show, with new contestants, but I really only watched the first season. But when it comes back to the show, I remember watching the show every week when it came out. I mean, the show tries to intertwine slapstick humor, teenage angst, lovey-dovey stories, and just simple fart jokes, to make a show that I liked as a kid, but today, it's just kinda awkward to watch. It's not a bad show by any means, but it's not a great show either. To me, it's just in an awkward place. Next week, I'm getting out of these kid shows to watch something that makes me laugh all the time. Keep watching Nerd Central.
Hello and welcome to Dead on Arrival, where shows of one season or less get analyzed by the man who haunts your nightmares, Cody Nance. Fox went through an odd experimental phase a few years ago, and they never really pulled through it. Most of these were quickly and mercilessly canceled for good reason, but I think one didn't really get a fair chance: Almost Human. The show's premise isn't too incredibly groundbreaking, but that doesn't matter if executed well. A cop and the top-of-the-line AI cop fight crime and hunt down the more unstable AI models. Now I know that sounds extremely familiar, as it has been done many times before, and is still being done to this day. So what makes this one so special? Well, this guy, Carl Urban, star of 2012's Dredd. At the time of Almost Human, a small army was begging for Dredd 2, myself included. So part of my love for this show comes from it being the closest thing we're ever going to get to Dredd 2. Like all good cop shows, The lead is haunted by the sins of his past. Carl Urban's is a drug bust that went wrong and caused him to lose his leg because he lost his nerve when he saw his girlfriend there. There's not much else I can say about the show because the premise is so simple. Like all the other properties that share this premise, the friendship between Carl Urban and his android starts off rocky, and then it grows to be quite touching by the end. Almost Human was canceled after 13 episodes, but was actually considered for renewal. However, according to co-star Michael Ealy, the show's higher budget means that in order to get another season, they would have had to pull down CSI numbers. From Dead on Arrival on Nerd Central, this is Cody Nance saying, man, that human connection stuff sure is messy.
Thanks, guys. One last piece of news for you guys. DC's Birds of Prey film has found its big bad guy, and it's someone my co-host definitely knows. Ewan McGregor has been cast to play the villain, Black Mask. You may know McGregor from the Star Wars prequels as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but more recently as the adult version of Christopher Robin in the film of the same name.
Black Mask, aka Roman Sionis, was first introduced in 1985 and is a known adversary of Batman. He is also a notorious mob boss in Gotham City. McGregor joins his Fargo co-star Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Margot Robbie as the biggest names attached to the project. Winstead was cast as Huntress, with Robbie returning as Harley Quinn. The film will be released on February 7, 2020.
That's going to do it from us. You can get caught up on all of the previous episodes on the KNWT YouTube page.
Also follow KNWT on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and follow Nerd Central on Twitter at nerd_central_TV. So Krista, who is your favorite Harry Potter character?
I want to say Hermione, but I don't want to be basic, so I'm going to say Professor Lupin instead. What about you?
That's awesome. I gotta go with Luna Lovegood.
Oh,
she's
great.
She's just so great. After the break, we will see who is the best Harry Potter character on Showdown.
Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Showdown, the part of Nerd Central where we battle it out on a particular topic we have no business debating. I'm your host, Evan Van Zant, and with Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald being released this month, we ask the question, who is the best Harry Potter character? With me today, I have former host of Nerd Central and current host of Northwest Sessions, Mary Grace Rice, and Bearcat Update reporter, Becca Ross. Mary Grace, why don't you start us off? Why do you believe that Neville Longbottom is the best Harry Potter character?
Well, Devin, when I think of best Harry Potter character, there are a few ways that you could actually, really rate. You could go by heroism, you could go by, how their general character, as they are. And I'm going to incorporate, both those types of things. First of all, let's start from the very beginning, and let's just remember that Gryffindor would never have won the House Cup the first year if it wasn't for Neville Longbottom. And that wasn't even his motivation to do what's right. It wasn't just to win the House Cup. That's the thing about Neville, is he's always doing what's right. And we get to see his growth as a leader. He starts off so timid, but then, he finds his strengths throughout the film. And then, let's jump to the very end where he stays behind with Dumbledore's army while the main three are going fiddle-farting around fighting Horcruxes and whatnot, whatever. Who stays behind to make sure everything goes smoothly? Who basically takes the role of Harry Potter at Hogwarts? Oh, that's right. It's Neville Longbottom stepping up and being the leader that he had worked through the entire film to be. That reminds me, character development. I personally believe that Neville Longbottom has the best character development out of all of the characters, and I'll go on to that a little bit later. Also at the film, he stands up for freaking Voldemort. How would the film have ended if it wasn't for Neville? Everyone would have just been completely? Probably. Neville Longbottom just saved everybody's asses. Let's not forget that Neville Longbottom is just adorable, and you know, he befriends people that people think are weird throughout the film, like Luna. No one likes Luna, but here's Neville being a friend to her, being a good person, and he's like that throughout the entire film. You know, he's had a horribly tough past.
Hermione is a muggle-born witch who, you know, at this, beginning, she just has to take herself down to Diagon Alley and get her own stuff for her because she doesn't have someone in her life like Harry had Hagrid or Neville had his grandma to take him and get him the stuff. Not only does she buy all her stuff, she buys all her books, memorizes them, and then blows everyone out of the water when school comes around. She manages to save Harry and Ron countless times while still keeping perfect grades. She's literally, at the age of 14, given a time turner. She could change anything in time she wants, do anything she wants, and she chooses to go to more classes. My favorite thing is that she slapped Malfoy in the face. Who else had the kahunas to step up to Malfoy and slap him in the face?
Hermione may be a hero because she studies a lot. And yeah, Hermione's really just what? Her biggest power is she's a bookworm, which is, nothing to undermine, but that's really what it is. She really just studies her butt off and gets, good grades and does all these potions, which without her, let me just say, the trio wouldn't be the trio. They would not have accomplished the things they accomplished, as you said.
Okay, let's just take it back to the beginning. This boy can't control himself. He trips and falls over everything. He stumbles, he gets scared, he loses his frog all the time. And I would like to point it out, it's Hermione that constantly stands up for him over and over and over and over and over again. It isn't until the 5th book that he actually becomes a person, I guess you'd say, because before that, he didn't really have a point to the books. How could Neville be so important to this movie and the best character if he really only came in the 5th book? And then even that, he wasn't in Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Hey, losers. He isn't here.
He was originally maybe written to be a background character, and I never read any of the books, so I can't speak for how Neville was in the books. But if you look past that, you can see what's going on behind the scenes, even if he's not the main, the main one in action. And I also think you completely undermined all the work.
I'd like to take it to the point of Hermione, like you said, Hermione is always in books, and she's always coming up with plans and situations. You can always tell what she's gonna do. She's always gonna come in and save the day. I think that's what makes her the best character, is the fact that she's this muggle witch who is disaccredited by Malfoy and all these other Slytherins and other people as well. And she does always come up with a plan in the end. She always pulls something out of a hat or knows exactly what it is that needs to be done in order to save not only Ron and Harry, but the wizarding world in general.
That is going to do it for Showdown this week, and the winner is Becca Ross with Hermione, mainly because Mary Grace took part of her attack time to defend both characters, which is not, I didn't understand that at all. You can head to Nerd Central's Twitter to show your support for this week's Showdown. Nerdmageddon is coming up next. You can check out Bearcat Update at 6 p.m. and Northwest Sessions at 8:30 p.m. See you next week on Nerd Central.